Hi, I'm Jill Fetcher.
And I'm Maggie Humphrey.
And you're listening to The Agency Scoop,
where we're talking about business from an agency point of view.
And our point of view, with some laughs along the way.
Don't forget to subscribe and tune in every month for the latest scoop.
Welcome to this month's episode of The Agency Scoop. How you doing, Maggie?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm good, Jill. I'm getting ready to go on vacation very soon.
You're always traveling. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I try to travel as much as I can. But I'm going to Florida, so I'm so excited to just relax and lay out in the sun, get out of the cold weather. Nice. And then I'm coming back for like 4 days, and then I'm going to Nashville.
Nice. That all sounds fun.
Yeah, just I'm really looking forward to it. How about you? How are you?
I'm good. I just got back from a trip to San Diego. Actually, as I say, I'm jealous, but we went for work.
That's
and,
right.
I'll talk about it a lot more later in the episode. It's part of our main topic. But we went to a conference in San Diego and we had such a good time. It was so nice to be in the sun. I really could have used probably one more day.
Yeah, I would have stayed like an extra day and I heard San Diego is just awesome. I want to go so bad.
It's gorgeous. It's 70 degrees and sunny every day. It's beautiful. The food there is amazing. I don't think I've ever eaten so many tacos because everywhere the tacos are good.
California food is so good. Mm-hmm. When I went there, we drove like the whole coast and we didn't quite make it to San Diego. So I'm really sad about that. So just another reason to go back. But starting in Northern California, I feel like all their food is very like farm to table fresh. But as you move down to like Southern California, the tacos, they just hit different down there. They're so good.
Honestly, it's so good. It's so good. And all the wine in California.
Oh, yeah.
So when you go, a lot of times when you go to a different, like to a hotel somewhere, the wine is expensive, but it's actually cheap wine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't drink a ton, but when we were there, you know, you're having wine, you're at dinners, you're all of this. And I'm like, I am going to have such a headache tomorrow having 3 different kinds of wine tonight. And you don't, because it's actually really good quality California wine. And they have the best of the best there. So I forgot about that about California and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like every hotel I stayed at there, I get like a free complimentary bottle of wine. And it was always so good.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Speaking of, so our experience at the hotel, I will say the hotel people at the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego were phenomenal. From the moment we walked in, it was like they just wanted to take care of us. They were like, they were phenomenal salespeople, which I always respect. So they upgraded our rooms. It cost a little bit more, but she slashed the price in half, supposedly. Who knows?
Okay.
But, you know, she's like, normally this is $80 to upgrade, but I can give it to you for $40 and you can have the rooms now instead of 4 hours from now because we were early for check-in. And I was like, absolutely. And she's like, oh my gosh, Miss Fetcher, thank you so much. And she was just so kind and so nice. Everyone there just made you feel amazing, where I think a lot of times hotel employees have the same vibe as Home Alone 2, where they think they're better than you.
Yes.
And they're like annoyed that you're there. Like they look at you like, how dare you come and sleep here, you homeless loser. Like, I don't know. They just always make you feel less than.
Yeah.
And everywhere we went, everyone there was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was really nice. Highly recommend. And, you know, I would go back in a heartbeat. So,
well, I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Later in the episode.
Of course.
But before we get there, did you see Walmart's new Black Friday commercial?
Did I watch it 17 times? Yes. Of course I did. I am from a different time. Just talking about this before the recording, I graduated in the year 2000. So
the Mean Girls era.
The 2004 Mean Girls hit movie is really just, it feels like my life. It feels like that genre of movie that I'm into, that like I grew up on, those like mean high school movies, like any kind of high school teen movie I was into. Bring It On, classic. But this Mean Girls ad was spot on. Every second of it, every look, every hair flip, every line was perfection. I just love it so much.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I obviously didn't grow up in the same era, but Mean Girls is just such an iconic film that it was like the first like coming of age film like I ever watched. Like for me personally, I remember I used to my sister had a huge stack of DVDs in her room, and my sister and you are about the same age, and I would always look at them and pick out random movies. And one day I picked out Mean Girls, and I was pretty young. So I was like, what is this? This looks enticing. And it just blew my mind the first time I watched it. So it's obviously has a special place in my heart. But in case you did not see the commercial, essentially Walmart's Black Friday special this year aired November 1st. And the entire commercial is just kind of like a reunion of Mean Girls. And they acted out different scenes in the movie, like iconic scenes. And it's kind of teeing up, obviously, Black Friday, but the new Mean Girls musical that's coming out.
Yes. Which I'm also really excited about.
So the original cast reunited, which I think was so cool. Besides Rachel McAdams, I mean, she has a lot of crazy things, big things going on in her life, so I'm sure she was busy. But it was really cool to see everyone on camera together, especially Lindsay Lohan. She looks great.
I love that. I love it for her. She's having a new era of her life.
She really is.
She just had a baby. She is married now. Mm-hmm. She's really different than she was known for in those early 2000s.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? You know, you had here in the notes, Courtney Carlson, who is Walmart's SVP of marketing, said like Walmart's really known for Black Friday, and they didn't want to lose that positioning, and they wanted to do something different. And I think this was so perfect. I keep seeing so many memes lately that's like, for Black Friday, stop promoting TVs. We don't want the TVs. We need cheaper groceries. Yes. And like, it's so true, because every year it's like Walmart TVs, Best Buy TVs, all these TVs and PlayStations and all these things, and it's like we don't need that.
We really don't.
But I love a Black Friday.
Oh, me too.
I always go shopping on Black Friday.
I was going to ask you, do you typically do your Black Friday shopping, like your Christmas shopping, all on Black Friday, or do you do it like a little bit throughout the month of November, or like what is your primary goal on Black Friday?
So I typically, my sister and I have a tradition on Black Friday, like we get up and go together. We have done actual Thanksgiving night shopping. I know people have big opinions about things being open on Thanksgiving, but you know, it's fun. People
gotta
are
do
out.
what you gotta do.
It's a different, like, we're not waiting in line camping out for a big screen TV or like fighting people.
I just
for
feel like
a
those
toy.
years are behind us anyways.
Yeah, they're out, but like it was
TVs
fun.
are out, groceries are in.
Yes. And it was fun. We'd like eat dinner with our family, do the whole Thanksgiving thing, come home, put our kids to bed, and then her and I would go out at like 11 till like 3 in the morning. And then we'd come home, go to bed, and we'd go back out at like 9 or 10, and we shop. We have lunch with wine. Sometimes we get massages. It's more of a fun experience day. And we just go to all the big ones. We go to Kohl's. They always have great deals, and we like kind of
that Kohl's cash.
Yeah, you know, I'm in a Kohl's hole right now, so I need to go do that. And you know, we have fun, and I love Black Friday shopping, but I usually do not have a game plan. We do look at the ads on Thanksgiving with my mom, my aunts, my cousins. We all look at like the ads that come out to see what the deals are and see if we need to hit certain stores, but I don't really have a game plan. We just go out and we see what we see, and I try to get most of my Christmas shopping done.
Wow, that's crazy. I actually have never been in person Black Friday shopping.
Oh.
I am an online girl. In general, like I like online shopping better, but typically I'm in Florida for Thanksgiving, which again I will be this year, and I will post up like on the lanai with my laptop in my lap, and like as soon as I wake up in the morning, and I won't move until all my Black Friday shopping is done.
Nice. That's a nice day.
But I'll try to do like all my Christmas shopping then and just get it out of the way as much as I can. And then like this year, my husband and I are doing a lot of renovations on our home. So we're really trying to take advantage of those sales, especially the TVs.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Well, then you need it. Yeah. Don't take away all the TVs, Walmart.
But Walmart did announce that each Friday leading up to Black Friday, they're going to be releasing new iterations of the ads featuring a cast member in each release.
Oh,
so
cool.
We'll have to keep our eyes out for that.
I didn't see those.
I haven't noticed those yet, but I have seen a lot of like the short clips of just like going through their deals, and they have the music playing in the background. I'm like, yes. And
I just think it's perfect. All this 90s nostalgia. I mean, all the people that grew up on those movies, I am the target audience for Walmart. I am a mom of 3, a 40-year-old. Like I'm there, you know what I mean? So it is really speaking to the right target audience, getting all this nostalgia right now.
It was a really good move.
Yeah.
Really great move. And I feel like a lot of other big brands are doing similar things recently with their advertising, with kind of leaning into that 90s nostalgia. And again, I think it's because their key demographic at this point is your generation right now for a lot of reasons. But Chili's also released a new commercial mixing their baby back ribs jingle with Boyz II Men.
I have not seen this,
Okay.
and I would like to.
I'll have to send you the link.
But my initial thought on this is what a miss that they didn't use Chili from TLC.
Oh, good.
They should have
call.
used her, and it could have been Chili's baby back ribs, and it could have been her, and
Maybe their next campaign.
that would have been fun.
Call them up.
I should. I'm gonna talk to them about this.
But I did watch the clip, and I was jamming out in my office when I was researching this. But essentially, it starts off with Boyz II Men kind of sitting in a booth chatting about baby back ribs, and then they just break into song.
I love it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty epic. But again, really resonating well with Gen Xers and older millennials. But I guess they are still trying to reach that Gen Z generation, Generation Z, I should say. Because they are pushing their ads on TikTok best they can. But I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like they have to go a different way with Gen Z. But they said that they're trying to encourage them to duet the videos and kind of make their own iterations of the songs. But I just feel like, I don't know if Chili's is where Gen Zers like to hang out, but I don't know.
I don't know. Everyone likes bottomless chips.
That's true.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what their reaction is. Hey, Maggie, let's give our listeners a peek behind the curtain.
You mean like a look into what we're actually doing?
Yeah.
Okay. So lots of wins. Major one is kind of the overall topic of today's episode, which is our visit to the Brighton SEO meet. You got to see a ton of Marketing O'Clock listeners and potential sponsors, and you're going to kind of give me the rundown on that later, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
But overall, I just feel like client-wise, we're in a pretty good place going into 2024. Lots of planning meetings. I had one yesterday that I feel like went really well, just like prepping for the new year.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a current client that has been a client now for about 2 years, and we do a lot of work for them. And one thing that they had another agency doing was their social content. And we don't do a ton of organic social content. We do it a little bit, and it's usually an add-on to somebody else's stuff. And they came to us and said, like, we cannot work with this agency anymore. They're not good at communicating. They're missing deadlines. We're really just not happy. Here's what we're paying them. Could you do our social content for it? And it was kind of a slam dunk. And because they had a good experience working with us, they're letting us do it. They weren't really like they're like, oh, we'll just ask Cypress North to do it. And so that was really good. And it felt really good that the team has supported them so well that they're like, even though this isn't really your main thing that you do, like, we're sure you'll do it better than this other agency that specializes in it that is just driving us crazy. So that is good. That's kudos to our team.
I feel like that's a great win too, because like you said, we don't do a lot of organic social for clients right now, but I think it's an area that'd be really fun and great for us to get into more. And this could look really great on our portfolio.
Yeah.
We could feature it on, our site and maybe get some more potential clients in the future.
Yeah, it was good. Another thing we're working on is our own website that should be launching soon,
Really
by the end of the year. And so that's exciting to like see us promote ourselves and to work on our own image, because as an agency, we always say we're like the shoemaker's children who have no shoes, because we're always last. And so I'm really excited to see that come to fruition. It's looking really good.
It's looking really good.
And then we have a new client that we're testing affiliate marketing with, and we haven't really done that much. And so we're testing ads to drive affiliate revenue to them. And I'm excited to see how that test goes, because it is something different that we really haven't worked in, and it's always exciting to learn a new client, learn new strategies.
Yeah, I love that about us. We get to just test and try so many different things all the time.
Yeah, I always say, like, if someone says, can you do something? If they say, have you done this before? Like, we're not going to lie and say we've done something before that we haven't. We will say, no, we haven't done this before. But if they say, can you? I'm always like, yeah, our team can do anything.
Right.
Like, they are so good. They're such problem solvers. So with this, the client knew that we haven't done this before, and it was somebody else recommended us to them. And we were like, no, we haven't done this, but if there's a team who can figure it out, it's us. And we're confident that we can do it. And they said, okay, let's do it. Let's try. So I love that. I love to say, like, say yes and figure it out, but it works.
Yeah.
That's how you grow, and that's how you learn new services.
Take chances.
And now it's the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time to get into the main scoop.
as I alluded to earlier, we just got back from the Brighton SEO conference in San Diego last week. 4 of us from the agency went, and it was so exciting to be back at an in-person conference. I have not been to one since I've been here at Cypress North. So almost 4 years it's been since I've been to an in-person conference. But I used to go to a ton of them. At the last position that I had at a different agency, I used to go to a lot of industry conferences. So we had like financial service industry conferences and insurance industry conferences. We used to also go to the Direct Marketing Association conference. And so it's different when you're going to like an industry specific one versus I don't know, I would say like a skill set specific one. Like this was specifically for digital marketers. And we met so many great people, and they all had different niches that they go after. So people would be like, oh, you're an agency. What kind of clients do you have? And so we talk about it, and some people were like, oh, we only do lawyers, or we only do small business, or I only do e-com. So it was really cool to just see the different types of businesses that everyone had. And, you know, meet so many like-minded people and just learn from everybody.
Oh my God, I bet. That's really cool. It's funny you say like you haven't been to a conference in like 4 years and you went to multiple before that. And I just feel like that really speaks to the difference in generations, because I've never been to a conference.
Never?
Because I graduated from college and I got my first job in my field the week before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
So I worked in office for a week, and then that Friday they're like, pack up, we're going to work from home for 2 weeks. And then that turned into a year. Yeah. And then I went hybrid for a year, but traveling was still really restricted. And then I started working here, and just like it never happened.
Okay.
So someday I'm manifesting it for myself. I feel like I've traveled for work, but it was just to like another office. It wasn't like a conference or an industry and like meeting people outside of like our own office. So yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah. So I love an in-person conference. I love meeting people in person. You all know I'm not like a remote worker. I do sometimes, but you all know I love coming to the office, seeing all my people. I am a people person through and through. My husband likes to say that I never met a stranger. It's just friends I haven't met yet. And I think that that's why I love my role in new business and making connections and what I do, because I love being in a place where it's like, wow, there are 1,000 people here that I don't know that I could get to know. And other people are like, oh my God, there's 1,000 people here that I don't know and I don't want to be here. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. Yeah. Let's see how many of them I can meet.
Yeah.
I want to know how many will know my name at the end of this. So it's a really great way, whether you're going to a conference for your industry, like digital marketing, or you're going to an industry conference, like we work in B2B SaaS. If we were to go to like a B2B SaaS conference, you know, like that's kind of it's a different vibe, like which kind of thing you're going to as an agency person, but it's a great way to see a lot of people at once. It's a huge investment typically, because, you know, a conference pass can cost, you know, $500 for a day. It could cost $2,000 depending on the type of conference. So it is a big investment, and you're typically traveling, you're paying for hotels, for airlines, for food, all of those things. So you have to be, you know, expecting to like get something out of it, right? Whether that is training, whether it's networking, whether it's sales. So when you're going to a conference or exhibiting at a conference, you have to really like figure out your goals, but it's a great way to like do all of that at once. Because if you think about, it's a little bit of girl math here, right? But if you think about, if I were to go and, you know, the 50 people that I met and spoke to that could be potential prospects for us as either podcast sponsors for Marketing O'Clock or potential clients, like if I went to each of their 50 offices and flew to go see them, it would cost us $1 million. But instead, you know, we spend several $1,000s, we go, we meet all these people in one place. So that's how I think of conferences, like what an opportunity to meet a lot of people in one place, get a lot done in a short amount of time, and a lot of training in one time period if your goal is, you know, strictly for training. So, so I have some kind of like an outline of some tips and tricks and things that I think about pre and post conference and during the conference. So I figured we could talk about that today.
I love that.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing, like I said, is to figure out your goals. Are you sending people there to be trained and learn specific things? Is this going to hit those goals and like teach them what they need to learn? Is the goal, sales, like actual sales at the conference? Sometimes that's a goal for people who are exhibiting or doing a different kind of thing. Is it to meet people? Is it to get content? So our goals were, we wanted to get video content for our Marketing O'Clock podcast. We recorded a live podcast at the conference from the hotel room. We had a few guests that are listeners of the podcast that are like normally tweeting at us or Xing at us, X-posting at us, come on the show. So that was fun. But we also wanted to get more content and do interviews with people from the industry and have a lot of different perspectives and kind of cover the conference that way and create a lot of social content. And my goal as the new business person was really to meet potential clients and sponsors and figure out more ways for us to do business and further ourselves in the industry. So the first thing that I always do if I'm doing a conference is to do research. So, who's going to be there? Can we get their contact information? Sometimes if you're a sponsor or an exhibitor, you can get a list from the conference of everyone who's attending. So you can send out emails ahead of time. Sometimes I've been to conferences before that have like a networking app, especially like really big conferences where they'll say, hey, create this profile and you can link up to other people. And so you can go on the app and you can like see who's going to be there with their names and titles, but it's all dependent on people using that and engaging with it. But I've seen that used really well, especially if you're in a cool city and people are like, oh, who wants to go on this tour of the city? Or who wants to go for a jog in the morning? Or, I'm here by myself and I don't have any dinner plans if people want to meet up. So those are kind of fun ways to like use a networking app that the conference has to meet up with people, especially if you're just going alone.
Yeah, I was going to say if you're alone. Yeah, it's nice easy way to make connection, make friends.
Yeah. I also looked up, this time we didn't do any of these types of meetings, but if you have clients or prospects in the area of the conference, figuring out, oh, I could go in a day early and have a couple meetings this way, even if they're not going to the conference, but they live nearby. So maybe I'll drive an hour and go see this person or that person.
Feed two birds with one seed, as Jessica Butt says.
Exactly. So, and part of that research is just planning your time. So making sure you're planning the sessions you want to attend, know what social activities you want to attend. If there are some that are provided by the conference, there usually is. Coordinating with your teammates. So if you're going with a group, making sure you're making the most of everyone's time. So if there are like 3 different tracks and, these speakers at the same time all look really good, having one person go to this,
divide
one person
and
go to
conquer,
this, teach each other. And then making reservations is a big deal. I think knowing, where you're going to go for lunch or dinner or, whenever you have that free time to kind of research things nearby and what that situation is like. There's nothing worse than you get there and you're like, I'm starving and everything is full and there's not that much around or you don't know what's around.
I am such a planner. Like even when I go on vacation, I drive my family crazy because I will have an itinerary already made. Even if we don't go along with it, I already have reservations made. I'll make multiple, I'm like the worst type of person, but I'll make like multiple reservations the same night depending on what mood we're feeling, and then I'll cancel them and we'll decide, like, just in case, because I hate that feeling when you get to a point where you're like exhausted and you're like, oh, I'm starving, I don't want to think about it, and then you can't find somewhere to eat because everywhere's packed. Right. It's the worst feeling, especially when you're going like for professional reasons. I feel like it's not a good look, especially if you're trying to like bring a client out or whatever and you're not prepared.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you know where you're going and that it's a reasonable distance from the hotel. And if you're familiar with the city, I've been at a conference once in Denver and we were in a hotel so far out of Denver. It was like in this suburban neighborhood and there was nothing nearby except for the hotel restaurant. And there was like a karate school across the street in a plaza. And everyone was like, where are we going to go? We had to end up taking Ubers like a half an hour away to go places. And that's not what you want. No. So researching exactly like where you're going to be, what you want to do while you're there, if there's things you want to see or things you want to eat, places you want to go. All of that is helpful. Luckily in San Diego, we were on right on the bay in Seaport Village. And there was a ton of stuff around, shops and restaurants and all of that.
What a view,
so
too.
It was beautiful.
Oh.
It was lovely. Before the conference too, doing outreach. So prioritizing contacts you want to meet with, whether they're speakers at the event, if they're people that you know that are going, if you have clients that might be going or might be interested in going, maybe they're thinking about it or maybe they don't even know about it. But if it's something you think a client would like to go to, and you can then, feed two birds with one seed, have a client there with you, and meet with them as well. Reaching out to your contacts, your clients, prospects, anybody like that might be interested in going or already registered for going, and see what they're up to and what they're thinking. As an agency, you might even, if it makes sense, host the client and say, hey, we'd love for you to come with us. We'll pay for you to go, meet us there, something like that. So depending on, obviously that relationship and whether it makes sense, but it's a good way to kind of get people involved and show your clients that you're doing these types of things to continue learning, to continue growing in the industry. Also, other cold prospects that you might want to meet with. So if you do have the list, or you see on LinkedIn that people are sharing it, that they're going, and you want to reach out to them, I think there's a few things to keep in mind. So like any cold outreach, not just reaching out to them being like, hey, I want to sell you PPC services. When can you meet?
I will ignore that completely.
Right. So being personal, telling them why you'd like to meet them. Maybe you'd like to say, hey, are you going to this? I'd love to chat with you while you're there if you have time. Or I saw this thing that you shared on LinkedIn and I thought that was really interesting. I see we're both going to be at Brighton SEO conference. Can we meet while we're there for coffee or lunch? Just kind of giving that person an idea of why you want to meet with them, but not being too abrupt or like asking for business, not saying, hey, I'm an agency and I'd like you to work with me. Tell me when you're free, because you're still going to see those people there, and even if they don't respond to you, and you want them to be open and friendly to you talking. So once you get there, one of the things, and I said, like, a lot of people feel awkward about this. You're in a place where there might be like a break between sessions and there's hundreds of people and you're just like, oh God, now I have to go talk to somebody.
Small talk.
What do I do? What do I small talk? I think this is part of your prep. Like, know what that elevator speech is. If it's someone you walk up to and you're like, I don't know who they are, and you don't need to go, hi, I'm Jill. I work at Cypress North. We're in Buffalo. This is what we do. And these are who our clients are, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But that might be the thing that you prepare to say when you walk up to an exhibitor's booth, because they're going to want to know that information. Like, how can we help you? How can you help us? Is this a good fit for us to talk to each other? But also, like, when you're just in the random reception and you're talking to people, I always say just like be comfortable and be yourself, and don't make people beg for information. Like, there's nothing worse than you're like, hey, I'm Jill. And they're like, hi. Like, what's your name?
There's just like dead air.
And they're like, Maggie. You're like, oh, where are you from, Maggie? And it's like, Rochester. Like, it's like, okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, that's hard to have those small talk conversations.
And also knowing like what questions to ask them, I think is important, because like you can talk about yourself, which you should, but don't, strong arm the conversation, kind of open it up to them a little bit, because you want to learn about them too. So like knowing those key questions you want to ask each person. Exactly.
And asking people about themselves is always such a better way to start a conversation than just like bragging about yourself.
Exactly.
And use the regular social cues that you would in any kind of situation where you're meeting new people. Be professional, be respectful. And I think, like, don't ask people their political views like the first moment you meet them, or things like that, what religion they are, all of those regular
how to drive prospects
rules
away.
Yes, exactly. One of the other things I wanted to mention that I think happens more often than not in the other conferences that I have been to in the past, not at this Brighton one. This was wonderful. I want to say, don't be competitive with other agencies. I love meeting other agency people. I mean, that's the whole reason for us doing this podcast, is to like create this community of agencies that can give feedback and can learn from each other. And I've been to other conferences where they're like, oh, you're an agency? See ya. And they don't want to talk to you. They want to be like, oh, we're competitors. And it's like, there's a million of us.
I've worked at companies like that.
Yes.
And it's just like not a good vibe.
Right? It's not.
No.
It's not. It's just, it doesn't feel good to anybody, right? So, and we have so many clients that use multiple agencies for different things.
And we
that it's
partner
like-
with agencies too. Like there's other agencies out there that their strength is like we said, like maybe it's organic, social, and branding. That's not our main thing here. We do it a little bit, but we're really good at demand gen or B2B SaaS. So we'll partner with other agencies to service one client who might be focusing on branding with them, but demand gen with us.
Exactly.
So it can be really beneficial, and that can lead to even more business.
Exactly. So you don't have to be their best friends, but I hate when other agency people are rude when you meet them at conferences, and that's just not nice. Everyone remembers the rude person. Everyone remembers the person who got too drunk or got really loud.
Don't be that girl.
Was nuts. Don't be that girl. Don't be that girl at the conference. We met a guy that at the reception on the second day, it's like 4:30, and he was definitely had been drinking for some time and was like so nuts and was like, hey, can I come to dinner with you guys? And we were like, oh no, we're going with somebody else. And he was just like following us out of the hotel and just being obnoxious. And it's like, no one wants to be that guy.
No.
Like you don't want to work with that guy.
Not a good look at all.
Yeah. But yeah, rule of thumb too, like be inclusive. As I'm saying that, we're like, bye, see you, please stop following us. But he was that guy, like we, but
it also wouldn't be a good look for you,
right?
if you were hanging out with him,
right? But I think like if you see someone alone, like don't be afraid to include them because a lot of people travel to conferences by themselves and feel really awkward about it. So it's always nice to like be, inviting people and be inclusive. I have a few notes here for exhibitors. So we were not an exhibitor. We thought about it, getting a booth at this conference. There was maybe 30-ish exhibitors. So it wasn't huge. It wasn't like a huge trade show that has hundreds of booths.
Are the exhibitors just all other agencies?
No, there was a lot of different platforms, different tech products that agencies could use or clients could use, a lot of different things. But basically anyone that would be selling their services or their products to digital marketers were there. And so there was maybe 30, 35 in this ballroom. And so I spoke to every single one because,
of course.
And that was my goal. Like, I'm really glad we didn't end up getting a booth because I would have been at the booth the whole time. Yeah, you've been tied
to it the whole time. Yeah.
And because we weren't, I got to speak to all of them, and all of them were better prospects for us because we do so much B2B SaaS. A lot of them are SaaS products. I met a lot of their marketing people, so they could be potential clients. I also talked to them about potential podcast sponsorships for our Marketing O'Clock podcast because that is all digital marketers that listen to it. So it was very fruitful talking to them. But as I did that, I was reminded of kind of the do's and don'ts of being an exhibitor. So I would say the ones that are friendly and inviting, like be on when you're in the booth. Like if you're working the booth, it is a long day and I totally understand that. But like you need to be on, be friendly, be introducing yourself to people. Like if I'm walking up and you're just like bored and uninterested and you're like, who are you? Like that is not a good look. And it doesn't make me want to work with your company. Especially because you don't know who I am. I could be someone who needs your service.
Yeah. And you're making me feel like I'm an inconvenience.
Yes. Like a lot of times they would like either awkwardly ignore you or act uninterested or like shoot right into their pitch about what they did instead of asking me questions about like, hey, what kind of company do you work for? What is your role there?
Know your questions up front, people.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, do you know who at your agency might use an SEO rank tracking software? And I'm like, yeah, I do. That wouldn't be me, but I do know the people that do use it. Why are you better than the other ones? Tell me more about it. Mm-hmm. And the ones that were engaging like that and asked the right questions, it was so much easier to have a conversation with. It was so much better. I had such a better experience. They also sometimes booths, if you've been to conferences where they have like bigger spaces, like some of them just had the 10 by 10 where they have like a table or like a backdrop. And then some of them had like bigger spaces and they'd have like couches set up and like chairs and stuff. So you could sit down and just like take a load off while you're like standing up all day. And I can't tell you how many of them, like the people working the booth were like taking up all the couches, and then you're standing there and they're sitting down and you're talking to them, and it's so awkward, and they don't like get up to talk to you or like
so
offer you a
weird.
seat. Like that was very strange. And I've had that happen before. And I just think it's like not good booth etiquette.
No. We need to write like notes on booth etiquette 101.
Right? Exactly. And even people just like working on their laptops, like I totally understand you got to take notes after you talk to someone or you need to do work, but you should have a plan for that where you can be like, okay, I need to take a break for 10 minutes and go out in the hallway and do a little work, come back, things like that. Because it is rude when people are walking up trying to talk to you and you're just buried with your head in your laptop. I also think it's nice when you get a note from an exhibitor or someone you met at a conference later that remembers your conversation. So I'm always taking notes. I will take like screenshots on my phone of their LinkedIn and then like take notes on my phone. Like I'll talk to text and just be like, Maggie has a golden retriever. She has tickets to go to see Mean Girls on Broadway in 2 months, whatever we talked about, so that when I follow up, I can remember those tidbits and kind of mention them, be more personalized about it.
It's giving Michael Scott from The Office.
Why does he do that?
When he's doing his sales conference and he's going around and just like naming off random like facts he knows about like one person, like Jill, blonde, wearing a gray sweater, mother.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be like, hi, it was so great to meet you in your gray sweater. And then post conference, obviously following up with the highest priority first, email with those personalized touches and like follow up. If you didn't learn anything personal, maybe do a little research about them on social media or online. Not something creepy like, hey, I saw a picture of your kids and they're cute. I found you on Instagram. Or I found you on Facebook and I saw that you're going to a craft show in your town on Saturday. I hope it's fun. But I mean like professional research, so maybe comment on something they recently shared or a resource that they shared on LinkedIn. We should go to a craft show.
That'd be lovely.
Oh my gosh. You could send them something that you think would be helpful based on things that they've shared or things that they said. I also think, and this is something that I've spoken at many conferences before, and not many people do this, and it goes a long way, that I think that if you saw a speaker and they did a great job, you should reach out to them and tell them, because they will remember that. Like you're not one of thousands of emails. Maybe 3 people will reach out and say, hey, great job. I loved your talk, and like touch upon something that they really spoke about, because just a little kindness always goes a long way in making those connections. And almost everyone has imposter syndrome. Even if they've spoken at 20 conferences, they are still sitting there thinking, did I do the best I could do? Was that helpful? Did it make sense to people? Were people engaged? Did they like it? I mean, people are always thinking that. And so if you reach out and say, wow, this really resonated with me, it's just a great way to like close that loop and make that connection.
That's such a good tidbit, honestly.
Like,
I love that.
I just think it's nice to compliment people.
Yeah. You did that to me yesterday.
Yeah, you did. Well, you did a great job.
Thanks.
And you need to know that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Another thing you can do if you meet people that are not necessarily the right connection for you, but you met somebody at their organization, you can reach out to the person with the right title and say, hey, I met Maggie at this conference, and she wasn't necessarily the best person to talk to about X, Y, and Z, but I thought you might be. We missed you there, that kind of thing. So doing that kind of like degrees of separation research is helpful too. I think too, after a conference, it's always good to do a little postmortem and say, what would we have done differently? What will we do differently next time? Did we meet our goals? Do we feel good about it? So we, like I said, we decided not to get a booth. We were going to do a booth and do a live podcast recording at the booth. I'm glad that we didn't, because the exhibit hall was loud. It wouldn't have come out well. So we did a live podcast recording in one of the hotel rooms. That worked out well. I'm glad that we just attended and didn't exhibit, because I got to speak to all the exhibitors that way. We also planned a special lunch. So the conference we were at didn't have food. Sometimes a conference will have
okay.
a sit-down lunch or buffet lunch. Sometimes they'll have like coffee breaks. They had coffee in the back of the exhibit hall and they had water, but they had no breakfast, lunch, dinner, nothing provided through the conference. So you were on your own for those things. So when I realized that before, we decided to host a lunch and it worked out really well. We had a bunch of Marketing O'Clock listeners, potential sponsors. We ended up with a group about like 25 people. One thing that I wish we did was figure out a way to make people confirm or commit earlier. There were a lot of people that were like, even that morning saying, hey, I'll see you at lunch, can't wait, and then didn't show up. And you know, like I said, it ended up fine, but it would have been better if we were a little tighter control around it somehow. So we would figure that out. I also wish we bought more swag to bring with us because all the exhibitors were giving out t-shirts and then people were wearing them. Some people came wearing our Marketing O'Clock swag. So shout out to Amit. She came to our lunch wearing our Bid to the Bone PPC shirt, which was awesome. But I wish we would have brought swag for people. We brought lanyards and some stickers. We didn't end up using the lanyards because a friend of ours was the lanyard sponsor, so we didn't want to overstep. But we did that, and I wish we would have brought like some more, like maybe tote bags or something that would have been fun to give to people, and they could have been carrying our brand. We did shoot a ton of content, but we learned from that. You know, the hotel Wi-Fi was a little bit of an issue. Editing an episode from only a laptop and not having 3 monitors was a bit of an issue. You know, those things just took longer. It wasn't impossible, but it just took a lot longer. So we had less time to shoot the interview content, but we still hit our goal of interviewing at least 20 people. So that was good. And like I said, we co-branded our business cards and that was kind of a hit, but it was weird to find out that nobody has business cards anymore. Yeah. I was just surprised by it. As you know, I've had business cards for 20 years, so I just thought people would have them. But it was interesting.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite segment.
And all of you know one. Don't be that girl.
Well, I guess we should get into our final segment for today. Don't be that girl.
Everyone's favorite.
I dove once again into the Reddit threads to find us a good client horror story. So this one is called Client Subtracted Their Late Fees. And it was posted by WordPress Wino, which I love that name.
Yeah, that's great.
We have this problem client who is notoriously late for paying their invoices. We all have those clients. Mm-hmm. We spoke with them about this problem for invoices that go back to September, which, again, I don't really know the time period between here, but it sounds like it's been a while. And we told them we'd be implementing late fees on their invoices. They weren't thrilled, but they can't fight it if they're months behind in their payments. I go into QuickBooks yesterday after I saw they paid a couple invoices last week, but it still showed they had an open invoice. That's when I noticed they subtracted their late fees and then paid their original invoices, but their account still shows a balance for the late fees they didn't pay. I will not be removing the late fees, and once their final invoice is paid, we will be firing this client. Unbelievable.
This happens to us a lot.
Yeah.
We have late fees. I put it in every proposal in the terms and conditions that if you don't pay within the 30 days, like after, I think there's like a grace period of 5 or 7 days that you start getting charged late fees. And we have had so many clients who will pay the original amount and not the late fee. And depending on the client, we'll like go in and just remove it. We actually had a client recently pay the late fee and not the original amount. So that was interesting, but they're working on it. I will say, related to this, I wrote in the notes, also, give us an accounting contact. Every client that we start with, I ask them when we're onboarding them, who should we send invoices to? We send invoices electronically. Who should we send invoices to? And 99 times out of 100, they will say, just send them to me. That'll be the quickest way to get them processed. And then the first 3 invoices are paid late. And then like I check in and I'm asking and I'm saying, hey, these are overdue. Hey, these are overdue. What's going on? And then they'll finally loop someone in from accounting. And the accounting person, the first thing they say is, can you please copy us on these invoices? Here's our accounts payable email address. And I'm like, thank you. Please give it to it. This literally happened to me this morning. But it's like the marketing people don't want to bother the accounting people, or I don't know what the deal is, but they always
Or I feel like sometimes it's just like one of those things, like a marketing person will get the email like, oh, I'll get to it later. And they just keep pushing it off because it's not their number one priority in that moment.
Right.
So that's why you should just go right to accounting.
Right.
To avoid all of this mess.
But all the time I ask, and they always say, oh, just send it to me. That's the quickest way to get it done, because I'll send it along to accounting with the approval to pay it, and then you'll get paid quicker. And it never happens that way. And then we eventually get the accounting contact, and then it usually works itself out so they stop paying late.
Yeah.
But the accounting contact that contacted me this morning about this situation, she did pay the late fees, which was nice.
Oh, well, thank you to her.
Yeah. Thank you for doing your job.
Yeah, but I just feel like as an agency, we all struggle with accounting issues with our clients.
Yes.
It's a common thing.
Pay your bills.
We need to pay for our employees. We need to make money for our business. So I feel like sometimes clients forget about that. Not all. There's great clients out there that are always on time with their fees, but there's a few that seem to forget that sometimes.
We know most of our clients are just, they're just busy.
Yeah.
They don't mean it.
True. They don't mean it.
They don't mean it. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this month's episode of The Agency Scoop. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Thanks for listening to The Agency Scoop.
The Agency Scoop is produced by Cypress North, a digital agency in Buffalo, New York. Our producer is Greg Finn. Our editor is Eric Barnes. Our graphics are by Sammy Hansen.
Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn to share your thoughts about the episode and give us ideas for future topics.
We'll see you next time.